Wash your hands, don't touch your face, wipe things down, clean up your space. When you cough and sneeze, do responsibly. If you feel you're getting ill, isolate at home and chill. No, you're not alone. Please pick up your phone and call 206-477-3977. King County 206-477-3977. Public Health 206-477-3977. King County 206-477-3977. Public Health Community Radio Station will provide you with more information. Say Rainier Avenue Radio. Your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio.
Tune in to Real Estate and Money every Tuesday afternoon from 2:30 to 3 here on Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Join your hosts Violetta Strash with John L. Scott Kent North, Elsie Shadon, Keller Williams Mountain to Sound, and the LC Legacy Group, and Tina Lombard with Cardinal Financial. They'll help you navigate the waters of our volatile real estate market and offer you some guidance on how to make your hard-earned money work to make your dreams come true. Learn about current trends, get tips on financial matters, and have fun, interactive discussions about your home inside and out. That's Real Estate and Money.
This is the news on Rainier Avenue Radio.
The president of Haiti says an attempt to kill him and overthrow the government has been foiled amid a dispute over when his term ends. Per BBC News, at least 23 people were arrested, including a top judge and a senior police officer. The president insisted that his term in office ends in February 2022, but opponents says it finished. Protesters took to the streets of the capital, Port-au-Prince, and other towns over his refusal to step down. There were clashes with police, who responded with tear gas. Some accused authorities of kidnapping those accused of carrying out the coup. Security officials said there had been an attempted coup d'etat, and cash and weapons, including assault rifles, machine guns, and machetes, were seized as the arrests were made. After legislative elections were suspended in 2019, the president is now in his second year of ruling by decree. Even if he manages to avoid being ousted, there are likely to be further protests ahead.
And that's your news on Rainier Avenue Radio.
You are listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Don't forget to log on www.RainierAvenueRadio.world. Welcome to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. It's me, your host Tony B, and this is another town hall meeting discussing the violence in the parking lot that's in South Seattle in the Rainier Beach area. Now, for some of you, that's going to hit home immediately. Those of you who are residents of South Seattle and the extended Rainier Valley, you know exactly where I'm talking about, and even people from all over the city know things about the area. Most often when you hear about Rainier Beach, what you've heard about for years has been the violence. Now, as Rainier Avenue Radio, we exist to amplify the diverse voices and all the amazing things that happen in our community. So if you listen to this radio station, you hear a number of different things going on that are amazing in our community, that our community groups have done. The way that citizens have stepped up, the way that neighbors have stepped up, the way that people have become filled in the gaps where the safety net did not exist during a pandemic, and then in the wake of George Floyd's murder and the, whatever you want to call it, awakening of systemic racism and oppression. This community has responded in that regard. And I'm talking about the community. So when we have a town hall discussion tonight to talk about this, for those of you who may be unfamiliar with the area, in addition to that is Rainier Avenue Radio. Part of what we do is reflect the mirror of our community. And so you get to hear this too. That's just kind of something to let you know. This isn't the only thing that goes on in our community, but we will openly discuss it. Part of the reason that we need to openly discuss it is because everybody's voice should be heard, not just a few people, not just the loudest voices, not just the most organized voices. If you've lived in this community for 30 years, 40 years, your voice should be heard. If you've lived in this community for 6 months, your voice should be heard. If you visit this community on a regular basis, maybe not even on a regular basis, your voice can be heard. And those who listen will judge the impact. So that's what this town hall meeting is about. We're going to discuss the issues surrounding the violence in Rainier Beach. If you missed the last town hall meeting, you can go back and take a listen and hear how community driven it was and how community led it was. And so this one will be a little different. We have elected officials on the panel. We have folks who are it's not that they're not private citizens, but they have been placed in positions of, you would say, authority or power. We have owners, business owners this time as well from the community to share. And of course, we're going to take your calls, your conversation. We want to hear your voice. So if you're on Zoom and you have a question you want to ask or a statement that you want to make, go in the chat, say you want to do it, and we will get you on there. All right. If you're on the Zoom, because some people join, and that's part of the joining on the registration. If you're watching on another one of our formats, go in the chat room there as well, whether that's Facebook or YouTube or Twitch. Daniel, can I give him that number?
What?
Can I give him that number?
My number?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is it again? We had an incident with our phone, and so I'm getting the number that we're going to use so that those of you who may not be listening on one of our formats can call in. What is it? Let's see. I don't see it. Still don't see it.
Private chat.
Just tell it. I don't see it. Oh, let's see. Technology at work. Let's see. There we go. Just a push of a button. You would think that I would know this. So everyone, if this happens to you, it happens to everybody. 425-761-2025 is the number to call. If you are not connected in one of the Zoomosphere or Facebook or Twitch, but if you happen to be listening, like most of you are, that's the number to call in. 425-761-2025. That number again is 425-761-2025. So, Rainier Avenue Radio, welcome. This is part of our Call to Conscience, a celebration and education of Black History Month. All month long in February, we'll be showcasing musical performances, dance exhibitions, race and justice discussions like the one you have going on tonight, workshops every Friday. We'll be hosting our Friday Family Black Film Night, showcasing films by Black filmmakers. This Friday is a Sam Hampton film. It's called The Change in the Family, and it's about a family addressing someone in the family coming out as transgender. This is an independent Black film writer from this area, Sam Hampton film. That's this Friday night. And so we've got a lot of things going on. Next week, we'll be, during our comprehensive celebration, we'll be actually bringing you Black History Month celebrations from Africa, from Paris, France, and from British Columbia. That's African-American Black history coming from other countries, just so that you can get an idea of how they celebrate what we celebrate, which is why we're doing it so big, you dig? And this comprehensive celebration includes iconic history makers from Seattle, the Hartsfield Slave Quilt Collection, and just a whole lot. So that's just a little bit more, about Rainier Avenue Radio. And this is part of our Black History Month celebration, having conversations that are sometimes difficult. The South End is a group of neighborhoods in Southeast Seattle. Definition is a little fluid, but traditionally areas in the South End are south of the Central District, east of Interstate 5, Rainier Valley, Rainier Beach, Seward Park, Mount Baker, Beacon Hill. But we're talking more specifically, if you're hyper-focusing in on what's called Rainier Beach area. And Rainier Beach is, this was Duwamish property, actually, previously. And it includes like Dunlap, Pritchard Island, Rainier View. It's bordered by Rainier Avenue and Renton. Those are the main thoroughfares. And it's one particular corner on there that we're talking about, but it's going to be a number of different things because that's maybe where things are happening, but it's a much bigger issue. So I'm going to bring on the panelists for this show, and I'm going to give each panelist an opportunity to say something for about 20 or 30 seconds, and then I am going to come back to you, but I just want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to get on, and then we'll start having conversations. So first of all, I'd like to welcome King County Council Member Girmay Zahilai.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
All right. Yes.
Hey, everybody. This is King County Council Member Girmay Zahilai, representing King County District 2, which goes from the top of the University of Washington all the way through Capitol Hill, Central District, South Seattle, and Skyway. I'm proud to be here. Thank you for having me, Tony B.
Good to have you, Council Member Zahilai. Seattle Council President Lorena Gonzalez.
Hi, Tony. Good to see you and good to be with all of you. Lorena Gonzalez, Seattle City Council President. Been serving the great people of the city of Seattle since 2015, and I represent the entire city.
The owner of the liquor store in the parking lot that we're talking about, Aklilu Gebreyesus.
Hello, everybody. This is Aklilu. I own the liquor store, Rainier Beach Liquor Store, not the parking lot. And thanks, Tony, for inviting us.
Thank you for coming. I want to make sure I say the last name correctly because I'm not sure. Hong, is it Shore or Shower? The owner of King Donuts? Hong, I think you might need to unmute. Hong?
One of us tonight, right? Where we think that we're unmuted, but we are actually muted.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for having us tonight here, and you got my name pretty close to correct, Tony. It's Chore, and so as you introduced, I'm here on behalf of King Donuts.
Thank you, and thank you for being here. Let's see, Joseph Everett from the South Precinct Liaison Attorney. Joseph, are you here?
Yes. Hi, Tony. Thanks for having me, and good evening, everybody. As Tony said, my name is Joe Everett. I'm an assistant city attorney. I work for the Pete Holmes and City Attorney's Office, and I'm assigned as a liaison to the Seattle Police Department, currently assigned to South Precinct and Southwest Precinct. So I work primarily with SPD, but also other agencies in the city on chronic neighborhood problems that affect public safety. Thank you.
And do we, Joseph, is there anybody else here from the police department? I know that we have made a request, is there anybody else here from the police department?
I don't see anyone, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And I'm not sure if Magali was going to be here tonight, so I'll start with Sarah Osborne, who's the Director of External Affairs for Safeway, Albertsons. Basically, that means she oversees philanthropy, government relations, media relations, and sponsorships for Safeway and Albertsons for all of Washington. Sarah, are you there?
I am here, and you essentially introduced me. So yes, I'm the External Affairs Director for Safeway and Albertsons for the state of Washington, and that means government relations and philanthropy and community relations and sponsorships and anything outside of the store. Happy to be here. Thanks, Tony.
And Sarah, Magali's not going to be here. Is that correct?
Right. I think Shell is here, though.
I do see Shell, and so Shell, welcome back, Shell. Good to have you here again.
Hi. Well, thank you for the welcome. I'm Shell Jackson, the director of the Rainier Beach Safeway, and I grew up in the South End of Seattle.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. We're going to get started here. There really is no beginning except for this. Is there anybody on Zoom right now who wants to add anything before we go to the panelists? Because we'll have plenty of time to talk to the panelists. But is there anybody on Zoom right now who, whatever your commentary is about this issue, even if it's about the people that are on the panel, even if it's why we're having this panel, again, this is an open public forum, so you are free to comment. whatever your comments may be. The whole point of this is to get community engagement and involvement. And you know what? Transparency. I'm not going to say that's important. That's not important, because that is important, because this is a community that people live in and it impacts them. And yeah, so don't feel like you can't voice your opinion. Don't feel like you should be intimidated. Don't feel like what you have to say is not important. Don't feel like somebody hasn't told you you don't belong on the front lines. Don't feel like you are one of the people that are not one of the leaders. If you want your voice heard, this is the platform for it to happen. This is the opportunity for it to happen. I welcome your feedback and your commentary. And in addition to be the moderator of this is also a community that I live in. So we're going to get started, Shell, because you were here last week or 2 weeks ago when we had this conversation. And, you know, this is not going to happen overnight. There may not be significant changes. But since you were here a couple weeks ago, has much changed at all? Has it gotten worse? Has it gotten better? Maybe the snow made a difference. Are you aware, as the manager of the store, has anything been brought to you that you want to share with us?
I know that we met last week with the Seattle Police Department and several other community members, and we did a walk in the parking lot. We talked about parking lot safety, getting some extra lights out there, some speed bumps, and I would say a lot has changed since last week and since we were last on the show. It's been changed for the better, and we just keep looking forward to get even better.
Awesome. Did the conversation that we have, was that impactful? Was that helpful? Were the voices of the community? Was that part of the conversation when you spoke with members of the community or leadership?
Yes,
from the community?
Yes, we heard a lot of voices from the community. They were able to. Some people joined in and walked with us, and we mostly had to talk about keeping everything clean. The liquor store manager owner came out, and it was an eventful evening, and we got a lot discussed. And I've heard a lot of positive feedback from the show on Facebook and just in person about people being excited that we're actually addressing the issue of violence in the Rainier Beach Safeway parking lot. So thank you.
Cool. And so I'm going to bring Sarah on now, because this is the parking lot that belongs to Safeway. There were some questions last time about who is the property owner, who's in charge of the parking lot, who owns the parking lot, who has to make the changes. I'm assuming you're aware of these things. Why don't you just tell me where Safeway is right now on this issue? It's not something that started 2 weeks ago. It's when we held our first town meeting. Have things amped up? Has there been further engagement? How do you look at this? Is it even, Sarah, an issue?
Yeah, of course it's an issue. And we made a lot of progress, actually. We just went ahead. We didn't go back and forth with whose responsibility it was. We're just going to go ahead and replace all the lights and put lighting in areas that were the darkest in the parking lot, which is that area that's kind of next to the Safeway portion. We're considering
what you're talking about is the questions last a couple weeks ago were who's in charge, whose responsibility is it, and you're saying you are no longer going to wait for that to be an issue.
We'll figure it out after we already make the changes. We can figure that. We don't have to wait to determine whose responsibility it is. We'll go ahead and pay upfront to, for all the lighting changes and get that done. It'll be like a 4 or 5 week process. So we'll keep people updated on, how far along we are.
Okay, so what again are the changes that you're going to make, and can you give us a timeline? You said about a 4 to 5 week process.
The lighting we know is 4 to 5 weeks. We just started to talk to some contractors about the parking lot and where people are wanting to see speed bumps. So that's kind of more of a conversation of where, that's most helpful and where it makes sense in the parking lot to stop some of the activity and not be too obtrusive to the other customers. And then we are going to meet with some other groups who have other suggestions for improvements of the lot. So it's really just kind of starting more dialogue as well, because we're getting a lot of different feedback. We want to make sure that everybody has consistent feedback and that we're being responsive, because sometimes it's conflicting information and but for the same purpose. So we're just kind of wading through that. But we do know, if people feel like lights are going to help and now we can see where that may play a role, that's an easy change for us.
physical changes is something that you can do, but again, there are a lot of things that are leading to this that have nothing to do with the physical changes. They are things that are taking place in our community. In that regard, and I don't mean this in a cold, callous way, but how does Safeway see itself, or does Safeway see itself as part of the bigger solution beyond the physical changes? You mentioned meeting with some local groups. I know that there are activities that go on there, but from your position of leadership, as a part of this community, where does Safeway see itself fitting in the bigger picture beyond the physical changes? And we'll go into some of the reasons why and things that are taking place within our community that are causing this, which we all know have a lot to do with systemic oppression that we are more aware of now, that we also know has to deal with people being displaced because of gentrification. We all know for sure that the pandemic has wreaked havoc, and particularly hard on these communities. Education, essential workers who work in your space, who you've had to make sure you kept your doors open. Where do you see yourself as Safeway fitting into the bigger picture beyond physical changes to the parking lot, which is good? I'm just asking.
Yeah, sure, yeah. So, and this goes well beyond Rainier Beach, but so our perspective and kind of something that's always a challenging balance for us is that we do want to keep our employees very safe, and we want to keep our customers very safe. But at the same time, we don't want to create an environment in our store that feels like it's over-policed. That feels like it's too restrictive. So we're always balancing, like, how do we keep people safe but not over police, and how do we make sure, you know, that the community feels that way on both sides. And so we want to look for that community input. It's really important to us because you help us make that balance. So I think here, as well as other places, we do need a true collaboration, and we welcome people to invite us to any meetings like this or request meetings. So we know it'll be community organizations, it will be SPD to some extent, it will be city cooperation, and it will be business cooperation. And there will be no solution until we're all working together. We do make significant investments in organizations in the Rainier Valley. And just this last year, we donated over $600,000 to different organizations doing great work. So I do think that we are invested. I think maybe we have the personal connections with just some organizations, not others, so not everybody sees it. We don't publicize it and put posters and ads up about it, but we do have the relationships, and we do see this as a collaboration. We want the information, and then we can all make a decision together.
Thank you, Sarah. And I'd like to bring on Aklilu right now. Aklilu, there are a lot of different, whatever you want to call them, folks may say rumors, some may say that you are the center of gravity for this. You are owning a business, a liquor store. You are facing some issues and some problems. Right now, I want to give you the floor. When people say the violence in the Safeway parking lot, A, what do you see? And B, how do you see yourself fitting into this? And are you part of the solution? Are you part of the problem?
Hi, Tony. Thanks for inviting us again. I think we are, first and for all, we are part of the community. And we think that the problem affects all of us, including the Safeway, the neighborhood, and our business. And we really like to think ourselves as we would like to be part of the solution. And the main issue has been not getting involved, which is nobody invited us to any meetings or community gatherings, but it seems like
wait. Did you say nobody has invited you into community meetings?
Never. And actually, most people even they didn't know that I own the liquor business. Nobody contacted me until this issue started. I would say about a few months ago. So that was the main issue. But I think that's now resolved, because it seems like I've been this second time that get invited to such community thing. So that's good. But I think the main thing what I would like to go back is to what he said. It's not just the parking lot. It's like what's the root cause? Yeah, we can change some physical things on the parking lot, which is good. I do agree, and I'm willing to participate in any way. But I think that there is we are not addressing the root issues. Why is that area becoming magnet to a lot of problems? So I think that's what we should be discussing. Part of what we're trying to do to the parking lot, it seems like we are not discussing the main root cause or the main issue.
And what is the main issue as far as you're concerned?
I think there is no community involvement. I think we should be involving the community because not only the business owners should be the main thing, but also like we should have a lot of community involvement in addressing what is, as you said, there is a systemic issue. There is a systemic issue in that area. I mean, I've been in the business in that area since 2012, and there is a systemic issue that I think we need to address.
And Aklilu, this is how I get down. If you haven't listened to Rainier Avenue Radio, we just have open, frank conversation. Are people gathering outside of your liquor store? Is it something you condone? Is it making people feel unsafe? Did you ask for help? Is it something you have no control over? You see something, you've heard something. Where does the liquor store stand in its responsibility to this? Do you encourage it? Do you discourage it?
I mean, as any business, we always discourage it. It's bad for business. And we've been working with SPD before COVID-19. I've been meeting with SPD for almost like every 2 weeks. And of course, we don't like anything that's bad for business. We discourage it, and we call 911 all the time when we see stuff, but there is no response. Again, I'm not trying to blame anybody, but as he said, as long as we have to be frank, we've been calling a lot of 911 when we see in the parking lot, but no response.
What do you say to people who villainize your liquor store right now as part of the problem? What would you like to say?
I would like to say that the business, I mean, the liquor store has been there since 1998. First, it was owned by the state, and for over 20 years, we ran the store. I bought the store from the liquor board since 2012, so that's almost like 9 years. So we've been there, and we would like to be part of the solution. And I don't think so that we are the problem. We are just a victim as anybody in that area, and I would like to be part of it. What I say is, we would like to be part of it, and we would like to be part of the solution, and as much as we can. Even so, we are a very small operation, family-owned operation. But nevertheless, we are part of the business community, and we are part of the community in that area. So we'd like to be a solution.
Thank you, Aklilu. And this is not going to be your last opportunity to talk, and you'll be able to chime in. Hong, owner of King Donuts, just to talk to me. Tell me, what do you see? King Donuts is a lot of people know is a place of a vicious attack. Hong, what do you see? Describe what's going on here as an owner of King Donuts. What's going on in that parking lot?
Sure. I just wanted to start off by saying that I'm here tonight and that I accepted the invite to participate in this conversation, not because myself or my family has the answers to how to address what we're seeing in the parking lot. We're here because we care. When we were talking about taking over the business, I had a sit-down conversation with my family, and I said to them, I have to be upfront with you about what I know about this business, this neighborhood, this region, and just what the business means to this neighborhood and to this area. And I wanted them to know that, it's a neighborhood institution that means a lot to people who've grown up here. It's been around for decades. And so along the lines of what Sarah and Aklilu have already said, addressing what's going on and what we're seeing is going to require that all of us step up, to show up, and to have a conversation. And so I'm also very grateful that I'm joining them here tonight to talk about that. For me, there are really three things that weigh on my mind as I consider what we're talking about tonight. And the first and foremost is really the safety of my family. My mother and my brother are there day in and day out. And my mother is there, pretty much from the sun coming up to the sun going down. And so I worry about them, and I say, I wonder how they're doing right now, and I wonder if they're safe, and I wonder if one of these days something's going to spill over and happen to them. Secondly, touching upon what I addressed earlier, King Donuts is a community institution, and we see ourselves not necessarily as the owners of it. I mean, we are legally on paper, but really what we see ourselves as are the stewards of this thing that means so much to so many people. It happens to be a gathering spot. In the past, when we were able to let people in and sit prior to the pandemic, we had families gather, we had retirees gather, we had church crowds come through. And so it was really a gathering space for the community to get together and to see the other people as people who live in the neighborhood around them. If you don't have places for people to gather and to interact, it's easy to really just think of them as random other folks who you don't know and strangers that you don't care about and that you don't trust. And that's one of the things that I miss most about pre-pandemic times, is to just have people come and gather. And so now it's like a lot of our interaction happens over the counter. And so we have that to be thankful for. And finally, the third thing, as Aklilu was mentioning, is that I worry about the health of the business, because as much as it is a means for our livelihood, and what it means to the neighborhood, I think about what I read on Yelp reviews, on Google reviews, and it hurts me just a little bit, a little stab, when I would read something like, oh, that place, I've never thought to stop by. It looks kind of sketchy. And, we do our best to clean up the shrubbery and the plants that are around the building. I am regularly picking up garbage. I've worked with Stu at Rainier Beach Action Coalition, with Jenny Frankel, who's with, I think she's with Waste Management, or perhaps one of the other utility companies, I forget right now, to put in a garbage can, just so that folks who are walking on the sidewalk can put garbage where it belongs, instead of contributing to maybe a place that looks neglected. Years on, even just what you said earlier, Tony, people, when they hear King Donuts, they associate it with the trauma that was inflicted upon the Hays, right? Like we don't know them, but we still live in their shadow of what happened to them, of being brutally attacked. And then finally, we just think about the pandemic and how that's changing all of us in the way that we live our lives. And it's distancing us even more. And so when we look at the violence that erupts, and we look at the things that occur just feet from us, those are all the things that are going through my mind. How long is my family going to be safe? How is the business going to be sustainable with what's going on top of a pandemic? And so those are the things that weigh on our minds as we talk about these issues tonight.
Thank you, Hong. And I wanted to make sure and give ample time to Aklilu and Hong, business owners in the community. Wanted to make sure that we gave ample time to Safeway. Again, when you say the violence in Safeway parking lot, it seems like you should hear from Safeway. When you hear the violence is occurring at the liquor store, it seems like you should hear from the owner of the liquor store, and then the other business owner in the area, who's not that there aren't other businesses. And so when we get back, we're going to take questions from the audience. We're going to talk to the rest of our panelists. You can hold your elected officials accountable. Your elected officials can also tell you what they're doing, what they've done, what could be done, and they don't expect them to have all the answers. But the one thing that we should have is transparency. The community should be involved, and there are a lot of reasons why, and we'll talk about some of those things. But if you have a question on Zoom, let's see if we can get you on when we go to break. And yeah, that's it. We'll be back right after this.
Rainier Avenue Radio, your community radio station, will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio.
Rainier Avenue Radio, your community radio station.
This is Cindy Gray, the host of the Heartbeat Radio.
Ako po si Rolly Pen.
This is Paul Thierson, host of Star.
This is Paul Schneider today on the 73rd edition.
Hey, y'all, welcome to Travelers Guys.
Your home for information about the impact of the coronavirus.
Amongst many things that's difficult about about this virus is that it's devastating. They're really heartbreaking stories of people who have.
There isn't anyone that isn't impacted.
Shutting our schools down, including all athletic programs.
Your first-hand accounts.
Yeah, I did take the test, and I'm from Everett. I was from.
A lot of people who know me, I'm still the first person they know.
But it was almost like you were patient zero for South Seattle. Your stories of community coming together.
Partner very heavily with Tacoma Urban League, who is doing some amazing work in response.
Thanks for small businesses. We're giving out loans to small businesses.
And so I think it's very important that we have leaders who feel perspective.
I tell you, we're calling 20, 30, 40 businesses.
Crisis in our community, we've been working to address it.
Rainier Avenue Radio, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a month.
Transparency with Rainier Avenue Radio.
Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Rainier Avenue Radio.world. We got you covered. Local impact, global presence.
Podcast. Welcome to Rainier Avenue Radio.world and our weekly coverage of the impact on communities. Continuation of our series. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us again here. And then again, now we are back to the and more folks.
How would COVID vaccines work in your body? Here are 3 things to know. Number 1, a vaccine is basically a training session for the immune system. Vaccines teach the immune system to look for the key features of a virus. So when a virus does show up, it's ready to fight it off. Number 2, a vaccine gives your body a plan to recognize the virus. Then your immune system starts preparing by making antibodies, or fighter cells, that stay in your blood as protection in case the virus tries to invade. What this means is you get immunity against the disease without having to get sick first. Number 3, when enough people's bodies know how to fight off a virus, it has nowhere to go. That slows the spread. When people get a vaccine, we're able to stop the spread quicker and get closer to ending the pandemic. To learn more, go to covidvaccinewa.org. A message from the state of Washington.
Would you like to see when your favorite Rainier Avenue Radio show comes on? Check out our show schedule, updated weekly at rainieravenue.radio.world.
Welcome back to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. This is our special broadcast of Town Hall meeting. The violence in the Rainier Beach parking lot. Maria and Joan, we're going to go to you pretty quickly here. So Maria and Teresa. Maria and Teresa have questions on Zoom. So I want to get those questions in pretty quickly here. This is part of our celebration of Black history. And that includes this Friday, our history makers, Northwest Legacy Makers and History Makers series. We'll be interviewing Don Mason, Bernie Foster, Elmer Dixon, Vivian Phillips, Trish Melini's Zyko, Bernie Foster, Omari Tahir Garrett, and find out firsthand from them what they did and why they are part of this series. You may not agree or with all of them. You may disagree with some of them. But I can tell you that as a Black person, your life is radical. So being called radical is not something that's going to be okay. Check it out, though, so you can find out about the history of people in this city who have taken this place to where it is now, because we're in the place again where information of the community is very important as the community begins to change through gentrification. A lot of things have happened with the pandemic. Certain community groups have stepped up. I applaud that. Elected officials, what have they done during this time? That's a good question you should be asking your elected officials. This is not the time for political gab. Not going to have patience for it. But people are elected for a reason, and we will be getting to them because it's why you elect officials. But at the same time, you have to say, this is what I need. This is what I'm looking for. And then your elected officials have to respond to that, or you get to vote them out. or you can vote other people in. And as you know, your vote is critical. And this is not about attacking anybody or appealing to anybody. It's about an extension of what we just saw happen in the last election, and taking this opportunity to remind everyone how important your vote is. And if you're not happy that there's no one black on the city council, well, then maybe someone will decide to run, and maybe you will decide to vote for them. So let's go to Maria. Maria, are you there?
Hello. Yes.
Hey, Maria.
Hi, thanks for hosting the second town hall. Question for Sarah Osborne. You know, we talk about the Safeway parking lot. How far does that extend? And does that cover the parking lot area near the gas pumps and the Pho restaurant? And who is responsible for cleaning up that area and then getting those potholes fixed?
Yeah, I might need help with Shell with this one, but when I saw the map, we're kind of two disjointed areas that we're responsible for, and then there's one strip that is supposed to be the landlord. I don't know how it works in execution. Shell, do you all clean the entire lot? What do you take responsibility for?
So we clean the lot that's directly in front of the store with all the parking spaces. The Pho restaurant, as we found out in the community walk that we had the other night, is not our property. And the new owner, I guess he's going to be building, but because of construction and stuff, he has to hold off and wait. And he's trying to get permission to tear down and redo it again. So we did talk about maybe having the community paint a mural over there on the Pho building and having him get it all cleaned up and organized. And I know he's been working with the city, and I don't know under like all the details, but he's been working with the city to try to get things taken care of over there. But no, Safeway is not responsible for that portion of the parking lot.
Is there a lot of debris? Is that why the question was asked?
The debris was cleaned up and everything, but I believe there are some nice sized potholes over there.
Yeah, it's very difficult to get gas.
It's on the gas property, the gas station property?
No, it's to the side next to the parking lot.
Okay, we'll look into that. That could be something that's easily fixed.
Okay, I don't know if we'll look into that satisfies you. And again, it's not your responsibility, but if you're saying you'll look into it, then that means that's a good thing, but that means we're going to hold you accountable to that.
Sure, expect that.
Maria, are you good?
Oh, yes, thank you. Thanks for that. But yeah, I'll be reaching out to the owners of the Pho restaurant because that area has been just bad for a long time. And it's unfortunate that if folks don't live in the area, they don't see it and they don't care. And that's the frustrating part. So I'll be applying pressure on that end.
Okay. And Sarah, thanks for stepping up and saying you'll look into it. You've done what you said you were going to do so far. Teresa.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm a citizen and I've been very vocal about my unhappiness with the city council and some of the actions that they have and have not taken. And I did attend the last meeting, the first meeting, and it was informative because it did let me hear from some of the members like Safeway and Shell and some of the other people. But after that, I was kind of called out by someone saying that because I expected more of our community, our leaders to be here at the city council, and I was called out saying I spread misinformation that they weren't supposed to be here. But and I didn't like it, and I gave a list of community organizations that were involved, but it was like the public were pushed to the side. But back to this issue. I got involved because I visited a lot of the groups, and they were blaming the liquor store, and they said that, and most of the people who were talking in this thing were not POC, and they were calling for the liquor store to be closed down, and they said that the police wanted it to be closed down, and then I found out it was a POC person, and he had not been contacted, or it just bothered me that they were attacking that business when there were several others in the area. And then at the town hall meeting, there were groups there who said that they were going down there, and Son was one of them, and meeting with the kids in the parking lot, and they were telling about the endeavor that they did to work with the kids. And they even got me to donate. So if you guys have campaigns and stuff, you want me to donate, do the right thing. But I'm unhappy because I want this to be a partnership with the police and the people in that area. And it sounded like that from what I'm hearing tonight, that they are working with us and that they're not totally against them breaking down. I'm unhappy with the Seattle City Council because I do feel like they stop progress by trying to say defund the police rather than reform so that they could work together. I don't like the fact that the public is not allowed to be heard, and that the city council, instead of welcoming meetings and working with Carmen Best, they didn't work with her, but they wanted to push her out. And I'm not happy with that. So I want to see some more and better leadership, somebody who understands what's going on, is willing to work and talk with the community and not against us. I have a lot more to say, but I'll let it go.
Well, thank you. And if nobody else has anything to say, I'll bring you back on, but I think people will. But thanks for your phone call. So I'm going to bring Council Member Gonzalez in right now, and President. And first of all, thank you for coming, for showing up, for being here. Appreciate it. And we had a conversation on Friday, where I talked about how Chaz and Chop, sucked up all the oxygen while things were going on in this community. And thank you for coming here. Let's start with that. What do you want to say about what you've heard, what you know, what you can do? Maybe as if you're running for mayor, what you think, not a political speech, but talking to the people who are listening right now. And again, in a leadership position, just your thoughts.
Well, thanks, Tony, again for having me. Really appreciate it. I think it's really important to start off by acknowledging that there are a lot of people who have lost loved ones to gun violence and other kinds of violence in the South End and across the city. And I think that's why we're all here, is because we want to make sure that we prevent that, and that we are really, focusing on investing in our families and in investing in youth to make sure that that violence stops. And so I just want to acknowledge the loss and the concerns that so many people have in the South End related to this issue. And I really appreciate having an opportunity to sit here for a while and listen to what people in the community are doing. And so I just wanted to start off by acknowledging that initially. So that's my initial reaction. I do want to say that I want to thank Councilmember Zahalai from King County Council for being on the line today. I also want to thank my colleague, Councilmember Tammy Morales, who represents.
I'm spending way too much time and not getting to, because that's not, I hear you, but I'll talk to Councilmember Zahalai. So what do you think? If you think more than that, if not, I can be talking to people, and I'm not trying to be rude, but seriously, you've heard some stuff. What do you think about the situation?
So I think that it's important for us to make sure that we continue to invest in community. It's important for us to invest in youth in particular, to interrupt the violence that is happening in Rainier Beach and in other parts in South Seattle. That means making sure that we're taking into consideration what it means to invest in people's education, in their healthcare, in employment opportunities. The reality is that the Seattle South End has been disinvested in. And when we do invest in the South End of Seattle, it's at a very small amount compared to other parts of the city. So we need to be serious about ramping up those investments in people's education, healthcare, and job opportunities. And frankly, for some of the businesses in this area who are experiencing these difficulties, we just spent the first half of the hour today just hearing from those small business owners and from big business owners that they need some help cutting through the red tape at the city to be able to access resources quickly, to improve the physical area, to make the environment feel safer. That's not the solution, right? Adding speed bumps isn't the solution. Adding more lighting isn't the solution. But those are good short-term strategies to improve the feeling of safety, to promote more positive behavior. And the longer-term strategies are the issues related to making sure people have a pathway to real meaningful economic opportunity for themselves and their
That's where it
families.
starts to get dicey. That's what we're asking about. Some of those things we didn't really get into it. Councilmember Zahilai, I'm going to let you chime in on this wherever you want to start. You know the background. We came into this after the meeting that Teresa's talking about, so people aren't maybe aware. And you know, I will say that as a council member, you are one of the few people who've been there. You know, you've been in your community, helping your community, showing up for your community, not just talking about things. But you know where I feel about this thing. That's why we're having a town hall meeting. You know that I was told not to have a town hall meeting. You know that I was on Facebook. I was told that I was damaging the community by having a town hall meeting. Not going to get all into that, but Teresa brought up so that there's some background on that. I think there's some things that you can either clarify it for us, or maybe you'll be able to tell us what's been going on. Councilmember Zahilai.
Absolutely, Tony. Thank you for having us on. It's great to be here. I do want to address that point, Tony, which is that when you held the first town hall on this, I decided not to join for that first one. And that was not because I didn't think it was a good idea to have a town hall. I was glad that you were holding it. I'm glad that you're providing people a platform, because everybody deserves to be heard. This is an important issue. Our whole community of Rainier Beach deserves to feel safe. For me, I want to make sure that I'm keeping the community safe in my role. I have one interest, and that is, how do we keep the people in Rainier Beach safe? And for me, that is working directly with the people who are in the parking lot every day, doing the strategies that are needed to keep us safe. I want to walk in lockstep with them, because to me, it's best when you partner up with the people who are closest to an issue, who are solving it every day. And I want to make sure that we're supporting them. So my coming on, I didn't want to come on before I've connected with those organizations, with those people on the ground. I want to be aligned with them. I want to make sure the message is the same as their message. Yeah. Otherwise, I might get on and say things that are harmful and counterproductive to the movement, to the people on the ground. So again, that's the one clarifying point I wanted to make. I'm glad that you've been holding these platforms. I think everyone has a right to participate and to share their concerns. It was just more so a strategy of how do we keep people safe and how do we do it in the most effective way.
And I, you know, again, I hear where you're coming from, but at the same time, whoever these groups are, and I'm not saying that they're not doing things, and maybe you can explain this to me, what makes their voice more important than other folks' voices? And what makes them closer to, because this is a big picture thing. This isn't something, and you know that this isn't something, and maybe we need to know that maybe there are these groups out there who are working to solve the problem, but for some reason we don't know who they are, or maybe we do know who they are, or whatever it was. But if those are the people you're in lockstep with, and there are other people, does that mean, you know, the difficulty is, are you going to be the King County council member for the entire district, even if you are in the minority, or even if you're not the loudest voice? And I appreciate what you said, and if that's where you stand, that's cool. But you know, I don't know that anybody was elected. You know, I didn't vote for anybody to represent me other than you. And for other people who lived in this community for decades, you know, I don't know that telling them that somebody that you meet with in the parking lot is more important to them. But maybe they are. Maybe they're part of the safety work in the network. But that just didn't make sense to me.
I hear you, Tony. This is a much broader issue than what goes on in the parking lot. But when we're talking about people who are putting their bodies on the line every single day, they're the ones actually disrupting the violence. They're the ones who actually have the relationships, who are actually walking up to people and saying, hey, you know, we're here watching, we're activating this space. So if I get out and I start saying things that actually put them in danger or make their jobs more difficult, that's something that I didn't want to do.
I hear you. Maybe an entity like Atlantic Street Center that works firsthand with people that has the same thing, that can deal with some of these issues that engage in hunger and violence before they get to the parking lot, should have been part of this conversation and should be part of this conversation. And there's a number of organizations out there. And I'm not gonna, because I don't want you to feel like I'm badgering you, and I respect you where you're coming from. And I appreciate you having this conversation. So I will let you now continue, and maybe there's some things that you can tell us that are being done, because this is not new. And so if people have been meeting and people have been discussing this, what has been discussed, if there's supposed to be a presentation of what took place in this meeting, where, correct me if I'm wrong, was a private meeting, some people couldn't go. What is the outcome?
There will be a press release coming out very soon that details the strategy, what we talked about. There will be full transparency on that, Tony. So that is in the works. And then everything that Councilmember Gonzalez said is absolutely right. This is a broader issue. We're talking about rising costs of living. We're talking about underfunded schools. We're talking about low wages. We're talking about poverty. We're talking about COVID closing down businesses and facilities and increasing anxiety. So I'm happy to talk about the broader things that my office has been working on, that King County has been working on, that address these broader systemic issues, if I have a moment, Tony.
And and we'll get back to you. And first of all, I agree with you, and I don't want anybody to think I'm villainizing Councilmember Zahilai. Councilmember Zahilai shows up, and whether you want to give him credit for that or not, that's up to you. Let's see. We have a Zoom question. Lynn, I have Lynn Tai, Teresa E, and Colin Katagiri. So you guys get ready, and Lynn, we'll start with you.
Hey, thanks, Tony. So hi, everyone. Neighbor, seen many of you in communities in various format and different roles before. I've been an activist. I've been working on policy fronts, a numbers area, and I'm here today in my role as a community member and a community activist again, full circle. I worked for a veterans organization called the Mission Continues, and we bring veterans volunteers to just contribute our time and our resources to communities, especially in Rainier Beach in the last few years. And I share everyone's frustration, because I live and work in the community just like every one of you who are on this topic. I'm frustrated. Because I want folks who volunteer and come out feel safe and continue to contribute and to build resiliencies and to make impact, to make the community and neighborhoods a safer place. I'm frustrated because this is a systemic problem. I hear the council members from city and from King County are making promises about investment in South End, and then nothing ever happened. And then it continues over and over again. I see short-term solution and trying to brush over and move on. And it's frustrating as heck. When are we actually seeing solution and long-term solution? And it's not just quick bucks thrown in, debating about this and that all day long about, I hear conquer and divide. I hear pitting one organization, one community group against another. And it's frustrating as heck. And from various standpoints, people put on different roles and different hats, and they say the things that are preserving and protecting their interests rather than the community interests and the people and the citizens' interests. And it's frustrating. I want to hear what are some concrete steps? Are there strategy and long-term planning that is moving beyond, putting lipstick on the pigs? I really, really am interested in that. And if, Rainier Radio can keep all these folks engaged and accountable to a long-term strategy and contributing to building South End to be like every other part of Seattle. Like, how in the world that, literally hundreds of years, and we can't still move the needle? That's my question and my comments.
Lynn, I appreciate it. We'll see if we can get somebody. I'll just say right now, we're going to go a little bit over. So our next show is Heartbeat Radio. And I want to make sure I get these people on and get some final comments. And so if you're staying for Heartbeat Radio, make sure we're going to be about 10 minutes over. If you're unaware of what Heartbeat Radio is, it's another program on Rainier Avenue Radio that I think that you will enjoy if you like this type of conversation. Teresa E., are you there?
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me speak, Tony. I actually am an employee of the Rainier Street Center. So I'm wearing two hats. I wear one hat as an employee of the Rainier Street Center for 20 years, who also worked in the Rainier Beach area, and we service the Rainier Beach area. And I also wear a personal hat where I grew up, went to Rainier Beach High School, graduated from Rainier Beach High School, and I have family members that still live in Rainier Beach that have been there 40, 50 years. First, I want to acknowledge, I think her name was Sarah, that works with Safeway. Yes, Safeway invests a lot into communities, and they have given a lot of support to nonprofit organizations. What I have seen from growing up as a little girl and an adult is it is a little scary to be in the Rainier Beach area. I walked into Safeway one day a few months ago, and there was a fight happening in the store. So it's beyond the parking lot. The staff are not equipped to deal with the type of violence that is going on. It's not a Safeway parking lot problem. It's a Rainier Beach community problem. And it spills onto the other streets. There have been issues where our buildings have been locked down because of violence right in front of our organization that serves children, youth, families, and elders. What I would like to see is some solution. So the gentleman from the liquor store was saying that there's no community involvement. Until today, I could be wrong, but I don't think Rainier Street Center even knew that there were conversations happening. And we have been in that community for some time trying to affect change on a systemic level. So I just want to leave you with this. When I was a student at Rainier Beach High School, when you say education and employment and things like that, the community was invested. I was a part of an internship program where the businesses came together and they gave internships to high school students. So you do have to have boots on the ground, but you do have to also affect that systemic problem that's going on. And Sarah, I know you don't want to over police, but Maslow's law says safety is paramount. So we may need to over police for a little while until we get things under control, because the community, the people that live in the community need to be able to walk into the grocery store and feel safe. And speaking for myself, I don't feel safe when I go into Safeway at the Rainier Beach area. I have options because I no longer live in Rainier Beach, but they do need to feel safe. I would like for my family members that are elders to walk into that grocery store that is in their neighborhood and feel safe. And one last thing, the parking lot, it may be considered Safeway's parking lot, but people park in that parking lot and go into other organizations or businesses as well. So it's not just a Safeway problem.
And as an organization that has been in the community for 100 years, that serves children, that serves multiple organizations, that serves Black people, you were not invited to participate, and maybe you're not considered to be one of the people with boots on the ground, even though you provide services anyway. Who did I say? Colin Katagiri. Colin.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, Colin. How are you?
Katagiri, doing all right. Thank you so much for hosting and for everyone's feedback and everything. So yeah, I'm a recent resident of Skyway. Was living in Central District before that, and UW alum, and grew up in the area. But yeah, I was hearing someone, I can't recall their name, just talking about kind of investments in youth. And so I work in education right now, sort of informally with a lot of public schools and youth organizations in the area. So I was just curious about hearing more about any specific, I appreciate the short-term, infrastructure things like potholes and lighting. But obviously, yeah, everyone's aware that, there's long-term systemic things that have to be addressed. So yeah, I saw a lot of, plugs in the chat about different community organizations that are going on in actions, and was curious if the city is investing in other things that, we ought to be excited about, that we should try to be championing and supporting. So, yeah.
Appreciate you joining us on this conversation. Ruby Holland is on the line on the phone. Ruby, are you there?
Yeah. Hi, Tony. How you doing?
Hey, Ruby.
I came to this conversation and I've been listening before I got on the call line. A senior that lives in the area called me about 3 months ago because she was really concerned with the gun violence there, and I didn't have any answers to tell her. But I came here today and I've since lost touch with her, but I wanted to be able to help any other homeowners that are having this issue. And so I wanted to try to learn something, but I will say this, when I moved back to Seattle 5 years ago, my street was wrecked with gun violence. We had shootings on a regular basis. I live on 28th Avenue South. And of course, at that time, I found out that that was the home of Deuce 8. And so, you know, it was just very traumatic. We did everything to try to stop it. You know, and I was told, don't call the police. We have some mediators that would help. But we called the mediators a couple of times and they wouldn't show up. Every time we called the police, they would show up. And it's too dangerous to take a chance because bullets don't have anybody's name on it and anybody could be hit by a drive-by. So I did want to say that. I'm not able, unfortunately, to hear what the other people are saying when I'm on the line on hold to talk. But I did hear you say that you was told to not have these community meetings. And I want to tell you, you need to have these community meetings. Everybody needs to be involved because it's very difficult when you're dealing with all this gun violence. In our case, on 28th, everybody eventually moved away. So that got rid of the people that were doing all the shootings. In the case of the Safeway parking lot, nobody lives there. So somehow they've decided that that's going to be their meeting place. I don't know if somebody is saying that they own that area or whatever, but you got to figure out why they decided to make that area where they're meeting, you know, and I do want to tell everybody involved, the donut shop owner, the alcohol store, the liquor store and Safeway. It is just a difficult situation when they've decided that they want to have the gun violence in your neighborhood and in your area, but it can be done. You just gotta, work together as a community and just come up with a bunch of solutions. If one thing doesn't work, try something else, but please have the community conversations. Everybody needs to be involved because for one thing, it gives people that are living individually, it gives them a sense of security knowing that people care about this. It's not just me ducking on my floor when I hear gunshots. It's other people and they care about it. So thanks for letting me be here.
Thank you, Ruby. And I know you listen to Rainier Avenue Radio, so I know that you're aware that saying that I cannot hold a town meeting is only going to make me understand that there is a need for a town meeting. Voices aren't being heard. That is what we do, amplify the diverse voices of our community, not just the ones that are in front of us, the popular ones, ones we work with, the ones that we think are the ones that should be in on the meeting. Anybody's voice. I want to make sure that I give our guests an opportunity for final words here. And so I'm going to start with Shell. Shell, just really quickly, final words.
I'm just really thankful for all the community comments, and it's exactly what I've been hearing while I've been in the store. A lot of people want feedback. They want the police presence. They want to feel safe, and that's ultimately why I'm here, because me and my employees and the people from the community, my local business owners, we all want to feel safe. And so I'm just really glad that we're having this conversation and it's out in the open.
Hong, King Donuts. And by the way, for those of you who are listening from other areas, you need to go to King Donuts and get you some donuts and and quit playing. And yeah, for real though. And you're right. It's a location that you've kept in the family. And in the times of gentrification, people need to understand how important that is and the type of support. Anyway, everybody go to King Donuts, get you some donuts, and got other stuff too. But yeah. Anyway, man, final words. And thank you for acknowledging that those are the types of things that we need to do to sustain our ability to be in communities. There has to be ownership. We can't just sell everything. I mean, there's a couple big properties right next to you. If the Pho place is gone, then there's a big expansive thing right next to Safeway, which needs to be part of this conversation. We invited them because they become part of the community at that point. And anyway, final words from you.
Sure thing, Tony. I also just want to echo what Shell is saying and just thanking you and everyone here tonight for joining the conversation, because only when we, as Teresa pointed out, only when we bring in the stakeholders and the people who have who care, who want to do something, who want to change the status quo, can we do something. I appreciated having council members Gonzalez and Zahilai just here tonight, and just acknowledging that they are aware of what we all know, which is that we need to see investment. And I appreciate Lynn's comment about how long will we wait? When will we see something? And it's just really wonderful to do the thing that my family does, that I do, which is to talk to our neighbors and to see them as people, and to say, we care about the same thing that you care about. What can we do about it? So thank you.
Klilu, I'm glad that we gave you the opportunity for your voice, and I certainly want to give you the opportunity for final words.
Thanks, Tony, and thanks for inviting us. And also, I would like to say thank you to all the community supports we are getting. I just would like to let you know that so far we have over 4,000 signed petition to see that because we are not part of the team now, seems like the community understands which is the main problem. The main problem is not a business or the solution is not about closing a business or opening a business. It is involvement, and it's a deep-rooted systemic issue in that area that is nobody would like to address. But it seems like now everybody seems like to understand the issue or trying to understand, and we appreciate that, and we appreciate for the opportunity. I hope this continues. Again, we just want to be part of the community. We want to be part of the solution. And again, thanks to the community, to all the communities that they have been supporting us, and we'd like to appreciate their support. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you. And Sarah, opportunity for final words.
Sure. I just want to comment on the fact that I appreciated what Council Member Zahilai said about meeting the people who are doing work on the ground. And I think, our doors are open to talk to anybody who's doing that work, but we're really hopeful that the different organizations collaborate and agree on what work needs to be done and their goals. And we are happy to invest in that work. We do think it's essential to finding a solution that addresses everybody's concerns, that gives a safe environment without other people feeling threatened. We talked to Safe Passages last night. We've supported community passageways. We know there's a lot of great organizations. So I really am hopeful that this conversation continues. And maybe there can just be other meetings where we talk about productive solutions and how we can work together, and what the next chapter is going to look like. So,
and thanks, Sarah. And for all of the groups that are participating and doing things, I'm holding our elected officials accountable. Private people get to do whatever they want to do. And if they're working with Safeway and Safeway is working with them, that's the way it should work. But our elected officials have to be held accountable. There should be transparency. I live in the community. So if you live in the community and you don't think so, you can say, hey, I trust, people to make decisions who I've not talked to, who have not, and nothing against them. But that's why we're having a town hall meeting. And so Council Member Gonzalez, again, I'll start by saying thank you for taking the time to listen. You're running for mayor. This is part of the city. As council president, this is, you're here, so that's good. If somebody else isn't here, I'm not asking you to talk for them or about them, because everybody was invited. But again, I want to give you the opportunity for final words. And thank you for coming, and thank you for listening. And I'm hoping that in your final words, you can share something with us, that you are going to do, have garnered from this meeting, and I won't interrupt you.
Okay, thanks, Tony, for having me. I just want to say thanks to everyone as well. A lot of people have already said thanks, so echoing those thank yous. I just want to reflect on the conversation by saying that what I'm hearing is that we all want a safe Rainier Beach, and that's our common ground. It's our common purpose, and we have an opportunity to work together to figure out what the best strategies are, both short-term and long-term. And I know that there are many important organizations in the South End who have been doing really, really amazing work. The Boys and Girls Club, Rainier Beach Action Coalition, Urban Family, Community Passageways, Sale Neighborhood Group, so many organizations doing the hard work on the ground to make sure that they're supporting families and youth and interrupting violence. And I really appreciate Safeway and King Donuts and others being on the call today, saying that they want to be part of the solution. And I think that I'm excited to be able to follow up after this meeting to
they should be part of the solution. They should be part of the solution from the beginning. That's what's taking place. That's not a revelation.
I didn't say it was a revelation, Tony. What I'm saying is I'm acknowledging that their willingness, and I am expressing my gratitude for their willingness to be part of the solution, and to say that here publicly. And I look forward to following up with all of them. I know that there have been conversations between folks at Safeway and Councilmember Morales in particular on some of these physical improvements. I think there's a lot of opportunity here to work together. Again, we all want a safe Rainier Beach. That's our common purpose. That's our common ground. We can do this together, and I look forward to doing that with folks. And at the city, in the past, we have invested just recently $12 million in community safety programs. Is that enough? Absolutely not. We can do more, and we should do more. And I'm looking forward to continuing to work with folks on figuring out how to get that across the finish line.
And maybe we can invest in some other things. And again, Councilman, thank you for coming on. And I appreciate you being here. And well, that's the seat that you sit in. And so I do appreciate you coming on. And Councilmember Zahilai, I'm giving you the last of the last words.
Thank you so much, Tony. I take feedback well, and the feedback that I heard is we need to be more inclusive, and everyone's voice matters. I hear you loud and clear, Tony B. We're going to be doing that moving forward. If anybody has not felt heard, please reach out to my office, my.zahalai@kingcounty.gov. We will meet with you. We will listen to you. Everybody on here is doing their part. We appreciate you. Tony B., whenever you hold a town hall on this topic moving forward, I'll be on. Promise you that. And we're happy to talk also about all the things that we're doing in response to this. I can tell you about the housing initiatives that we're working on, the guaranteed basic income programs, the criminal justice reform, the regional gun violence strategy, the repurposing existing land and buildings to provide housing and facilities for our South End youth. There's a lot of great work going on, and we need to do a better job of bringing you in and supporting the work that you're already doing. Please reach out. my.zahalai@kingcounty.gov.
Thank you, Councilmember Zahilai. Appreciate you. That's been this discussion. At 8 o'clock, we're going to be coming to you live from the historic Columbia City Theater, part of our Black History celebration. Bob Lovelace and friends will be performing, an incredible group of musicians performing live from the historic Columbia City Theater. It's virtual, but man, these are some bad musicians. Bob Lovelace plays with a number of different bands. Celebrating Black History Month, you're going to hear some blues and rock from phenomenal musicians. Bob is the bass player for Aaron Jones. He plays for man, just a number of different bands. Willow, I can't even, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, 8 o'clock, tune in. Continue to celebrate Black History with us for the rest of the month. Go to the website. I'm sorry, Cindy, but what I'm going to try and do, Cindy, everybody who's listening right now, on our audio channels, you don't have to do anything. Just stay tuned. If you're listening and you're watching on one of our streaming channels, stay with us. Go back, get back in so you can see Cindy Bright on Heartbeat Radio. It's a phenomenal show. She's got a great audience, and make sure and check her out. Just, if you're thinking, I don't have time, trust me, if you start listening to Cindy and what she's talking about, you're going to hear more about why Rainier Avenue Radio exists, who we are, what we do. We have over 70 different shows produced by members of our community. We've graduated over 300 students in our communications, journalism, app design, and code and mathing programs at Rainier Beach High School, Franklin High School, at Meany Middle School, at Washington Middle School, at Rainier Valley Leadership Academy at Mount Lake. That's why we're in the community, because of what we're doing for the community. And so to think that we're not important, we're not accessible, and we shouldn't be part of this solution, there's a lot of other people out there like that. So go to our website and you can find out more about Rainier Avenue Radio. And if you'd like to do a show, you can have your own show on Rainier Avenue Radio and you can talk about whatever you want. That's what we do. Now to Cindy Bright and Heartbeat Radio, stay tuned. Peace.